It seems like Donovan Mitchell's upset with the Utah Jazz. And what we're talking about is this game one situation where Don didn't play because of this ankle that he had. Before the game, Don said, oh, yeah, good to go. We're coming out, kicking ass, taking names. It's all good. Until we found out about 2 hours before the game that Donovan Mitchell was, in fact, not going to play. The medical staff didn't clear him, and controversy reigned over the Valley. Which is to say, Donovan Mitchell said that he disagreed with the move and seemingly was upset with the Utah Jazz. And it makes you wonder how the Jazz could get this so horribly wrong. So, Jake, when you look at this Donovan Mitchell versus the Utah Jazz situation, do you put blame somewhere, or how big of a deal is this?
Yeah, I put blame on the organization, and I do think it's a big deal. It's the last thing that you need right now. It's the last thing that you want to have, an issue with your star player. And everybody on Twitter's talking about the fact that, well, Donovan's got his own training staff and his own medical staff in addition to what the Jazz provide. And I'm saying that's not even a factor here. Most NBA players or guys on his level at a minimum have trainers. They have people who are literally paid to make sure that Donovan Mitchell is in the absolute best position to play basketball games every night of the season. So it's not that the issue here is not that he has his own training staff. The issue comes in when you have Donovan before the game, coming into the arena with the expectation he's going to play, goes to shoot around, everything's cool, and then the medical staff holds him back. And there wasn't a real good reason for that other than, hey, we weren't comfortable, with where his ankle was at. Well, what do you mean you weren't comfortable? What does that mean? So I think the true issue here is that the Jazz and the medical staff really didn't say, like, what happened here? So us as fans, Don as a player, are left in the gray area, in the, hey, there's an issue here that's kind of being put down because we're in the postseason. So my question is just simply going to be, this isn't the first time that the Jazz have messed around with one of their star players. And my question is going to be, at the end of this year, does this come back to roost with the relationship that the Jazz have with Donovan Mitchell? My feeling is if you go to the NBA Finals, if you get to the Western Conference Finals, if you make a deep postseason run, nobody's going to care about this. If you get bounced by the Memphis Grizzlies, everyone's going to care about this. So I just think that if you're the Utah Jazz, you can't have this happen, man. Like, you can't have your star player come to the arena with the mindset, hey, I'm going to play, we're going to go do this thing, and then hold them out. That just, it's incompetence at its highest level if you're the organization.
Yeah, and I think the bigger question is, what is the lingering effect? I absolutely think that's the issue. I look at how poorly the Jazz played in Game 1. And sure, some of that was the defensive tenacity and perseverance that, frankly, the Memphis Grizzlies showed in that game, being down double digits, not quitting, working harder, redoubling their effort. Okay, I totally get that. If Donovan Mitchell had played in Game 1, the energy in the building's different, the energy on the club's different. Joe Ingles isn't starting. He's coming off the bench. Like, all is right in the world when Don's on the floor, but all of a sudden, Don says he's ready, the Jazz say he's not. It could not have helped but impact the way that the Jazz played in that game. And I think it is certainly not the reason why the Jazz lost that game. Without Donovan Mitchell, the Utah Jazz are twice the team that the Memphis Grizzlies are. But that lingering awkwardness, you cannot help, I think, but be a player on this team and have felt that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think there is some lingering issue there. My bigger question is, what is the impact of this situation on Game 2? Does this revitalize Donovan? Does this almost galvanize this team together? And I wonder, has their confidence been shook after they lost Game 1?
Well, I think yes and no. Like, I think when you lose that game, you're saying to yourself, in the locker room afterwards, hey, well, we didn't have Don. We turned the ball over a bunch. We didn't make hardly any of the shots that we usually make. And, so we just didn't play well. And coming back for Game 2, we're getting Donovan back, and you would think that we would shoot better. So I think we're fine. I honestly think that's where the team is at. Like, that's where, the starters are at. That's where the mindset of the team is at. And I think overall they're going to be fine. But I think this idea, and this is, again, if you don't follow, let me first say this. If you don't follow generally speaking, if you don't follow like the Jazz media and the greater Jazz conversation on Twitter, you're definitely missing out. Whether you agree or disagree with it, you're missing out. Okay. So yesterday on Twitter, what I thought was so funny is that everybody was talking about, oh, well, Don's coming back. He's going to be the same guy he's always been. He's going to be 30, 40 point a night, Don. He's going to play 35 minutes and everything's going to be fine. And I'm sitting here telling you guys that I don't think it's that cut and dry. I think this guy's coming off a major ankle injury. I think when the first time that you put a joint injury like your ankle through the physical pounding that is an NBA game against other NBA players, you know how much that thing's going to swell on him. You know how much management he's going to have to do on that ankle to keep it in check. That's the only thing I'm really worried about because we don't really know where he's at. Like, is he 100%? Is he 80%? Is he just been cleared to play because he's, healthy enough? There's a difference between being healthy enough and actually being 100%. So I'll be really curious to see where he's at. My opinion is that I don't think he is 100%, but I think he's pretty close. So with that being the case, I do think the Jazz are going to be fine.
Yeah, I think you have to hope against hope that the Jazz are fine. And I think the other thing that you have to do here is don't fall into the trap of not managing his minutes because of what happened in Game 1. Mm-hmm. I think if you're the Utah Jazz, and we'll talk a lot about this more tomorrow morning leading up to the game, if you're the Utah Jazz, I think nothing can change. And if I'm the Jazz, I am playing Donovan Mitchell between 20 and 25 minutes, and that's it. And it doesn't matter how good he feels. And I know it's awkward to say it, it almost doesn't matter to me what's going on in the game because the long-term health of Donovan Mitchell, even if you put it into a minute, finite time like the NBA playoffs, is more important. Certainly the long-term viability of Donovan Mitchell is much more important. But what's going on in these playoffs is by far more important than what's going on in Game 2. You can go down 0-2 and still beat the Grizzlies. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But you can go down 0-2 and still beat the Grizzlies. Donovan Mitchell should play 20 to 25 minutes based on everything I've heard. That ankle is about 80%, which is as good as it's going to get. Play him 20, 25 minutes, win the game, and go about your business until Game 3. That's how I would attack it. You'll have a couple of days off after Game 2. Plenty of rest and recuperation time for Donovan, especially getting treatment. Go to Memphis and handle your business. And then this all goes away.
Yeah.
But if he plays, and if there's, the worst case scenario, obviously, is he re-injures it.
Yep.
But it doesn't feel like he's coming back too soon. This doesn't feel like a situation like there was with LeBron. My feeling is that this is going to be a blip on the radar. Everything will come to an end when they win Game 2.
Yeah, I hope that's what happens, honestly. Like, I think that Donovan Mitchell is a guy that you want to be a lifelong Jazz man, and I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, this organization just sometimes seems to be more vulnerable to the oddball situation than other organizations that are,
I would agree
quote
with
unquote
that.
like winning organizations. It's just weird. Like me, like everybody else, just wants to know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
Like how on earth did that happen? So yeah, if they they go on to win the game tomorrow, they go on to win the series, you move on to the next round. I don't think people are talking about this, but again, you got to avoid situations like this. You're in the postseason for the first time in how long? And you're sitting here, you're sitting here having issues. So that's all it is. So I don't think you got to hit the panic button on Don. I do think this game tomorrow is definitely going to be a tune-up game for him. It would be smart to play him 20-25, but if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he got into the 30-minute range. And we'll see what he's like, in Game 3.
And I the other thing that you have to think about is not even just the Gordon situation, but I look at the Elijah Millsap situation. I look at this Donovan Mitchell situation. It just seems like communication and player relations, not consistently, but there have been several incidents over the years where, especially during Dennis Lindsey's reign, you haven't had the best communication between management and player. And I think certainly Enes Kanter's another guy that comes to mind who complained about that, not being on the same page. Now, Enes is a perennial guy that's always unhappy, perennially unhappy. So maybe that's it. Okay.
Maybe that's him.
But the Gordon thing, Elijah Millsap with the racist thing, Donovan Mitchell, like where is Dennis Lindsey? Where is the front office of this team commenting on what happened and where this went so wrong? That's what I'm curious about, because I think you need that.
What did you want from them? Like I wanted either Quinn or Dennis Lindsey to come out and just say, "Hey, here's what happened. There was a breakdown in miscommunication. There was a breakdown in communication, and Don had one expectation. The medical staff clearly had a different expectation, and that's what happened, and that's our bad. Like I don't know why in whether it's politics or sports or just life, we got away from just saying, "Hey, man, like, yeah, I messed that up. Like, what do you want me to say?
I wish I understood it. I wish I understood it. I mean, it is one of those things where I don't know that we'll ever fully understand it. And I see all your comments coming in. I don't know. I think it's really interesting how much it changed the dynamic of game one.
Because if you think about it, if they would have just said, hey, like if Quinn, it's probably unrealistic to think that Dennis Lindsey is going to come out and comment on this.
But is it though? I actually don't think it is.
Well, I think for that, so from an NBA perspective, it's not unrealistic. For the Jazz, it's unrealistic. I just don't think that Dennis Lindsey is the guy who comes out and constantly comments on issues. I don't remember him. I could be wrong, but I don't remember him commenting on the Elijah thing. I certainly you were here in the middle of the Gordon thing, right? Did he comment on the Gordon thing? I don't remember.
Oh, repeatedly. I mean, it was just remember that was all. Wasn't that a Saturday afternoon? The Gordon blog thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing was awkward. All I'm saying is these mistakes can't continue to happen.
Yeah.
And you supposedly have a new era, a new owner, and nothing's changed. And so it makes me wonder how much is Ryan Smith involved in the day-to-day here?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And as a smart owner, you let your basketball guys do the basketballing, and I get that. At some point, business as usual can't be business as usual.
Yeah.
And the Jazz are going to have to make a change in that light. Do you guys think the Jazz will ever win a championship? Tanner? Look, I love you, Tanner Plummer, but you've got to stop with this. The world's ending and the Jazz suck and it's awful. The Jazz do not suck. It's not awful. Yes, the Jazz will win a championship. The roller coaster ride that Jazz fans tend to enjoy is why Jazz fans are so miserable.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great organization. It's a great team. They're arguably the best team in the NBA right now. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Like it was one game without your best player. Are we really that concerned that the wheels fell off the train after game one? Because I'm not. Even if I'm the Lakers, the wheels didn't fall off the train after game one.
Let me pose this question to you. Why is it that when this team lost back-to-back to the Wolves, we were saying, they're just slipping a little bit. But now when they lose one game to Memphis, it's like, oh my God, the world's ending. It doesn't need to be that way. I think when you look at the way the game was played, and I'm not trying to go into a full breakdown here like we did yesterday, but just simply put, they didn't make shots. They didn't play their best basketball. They didn't even play their brand of basketball, in my opinion. They got away from who they are. And yeah, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell. So tomorrow, when they have Don, I would expect the shots to be falling at a pretty high rate because everybody's going to slide back into their natural position of things. And everything's going to be fine. And Don's probably going to have, even if he does play, let's say that they're super conservative and he plays 20 minutes. The guy's still going to have 15 in that time, at least. So he's still going to contribute for you, even if it's on a smaller scale. So you're not going to have the minivan giving you nothing in this next game,
Yeah, James Knight says, I know it's great content for your program. I should probably just not read the rest of the comments.
We know what's coming. We know what's coming.
Don't you think the medical team is way more informed than you guys and the entire speculative media? That is an irrelevant point because Donovan Mitchell came out and said, I'm ready to play. I'm good to go tonight for game one. So who knows more about his ankle, the medical team or Donovan Mitchell's trainers?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
I mean,
so this whole idea that it's the speculative media or we're just sensationalizing for content, James, you don't know what you're talking about. Donovan Mitchell is the one who called the Jazz medical team into question. So it's not that we're sitting here, it's clickbait. No, it's actually the player, Donovan Mitchell, saying that the medical staff got it wrong. So now is it Donovan Mitchell or the medical staff who knows more about their ankle? Or just speculative fans who didn't keep up enough to know that Donovan Mitchell questioned why he wasn't playing?
And by the way, who's the one that gets the heat for not playing? Not the medical staff, Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, by the way, it's not Dr. Jimmy Chu or Steve Smith, the ankle specialist. It's the medical team.
Yeah.
When we're talking about Donovan Mitchell's ankle.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great point. Who's the one on the medical team who gets the accountability for messing this up?
This is a moment in time, and you can Rock is saying that I'm being too spectacular and trying to cause problems, and it's not that. You remember this moment in time because and this is again not to keep going back to Gordon Hayward, but it's a really good comparison. Gordon Hayward, I think, went and took a RFA visit, a restricted free agent visit with the San Antonio Spurs. And everybody's like, oh, well, we can match. It's no big deal. It's a hell of a big deal. When you have a fracture in a relationship, and I'll remind you, what was the other awkwardness with Donovan Mitchell? Well, it was Rudy Gobert and the whole COVID thing. And Rudy had COVID, and then Donovan had COVID, and there were a lot of talk about the fracture there, and Donovan blamed Rudy, and Rudy blamed Donovan, and Rudy turned around and blamed the officials. And okay, well, he didn't. That was a joke. Anyway, the point is, this is not the first time we've seen awkwardness, a lack of communication, a lack of organizational execution. How come the best teams in the NBA don't have issues like this? This doesn't happen in San Antonio. This doesn't happen with the Lakers. This doesn't happen with, who you look at the teams that are at the top of the game.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen to organizations like the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Because they're well-run, well-oiled machine who understand that players come first. When you go to the Lakers, what do you know? That you're going to be pampered, you're going to be taken care of, whether you're the 12th guy on the roster or LeBron James, the best player on the team.
Yeah.
You're going to be pampered and taken care of.
Yeah.
That's why guys go to L.A. And I just will continue to say, look at the Golden State Warriors. There is no more player-friendly organization than the Golden State Warriors. And there's no question about, hey, how is this guy or that guy or what is this guy? None of that. There's no racist owner. There's no racial overtones. There's no billboard saying, Chris Webber, please stay in Sacramento, we'll mow your lawn.
Yeah.
There's just championships. And to me, that's why I say, look at, you want to know an awkward organization who does shit like this all the time? The Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
The Bulls are terrible at taking care of players. The Bulls do not pamper players. The Bulls... I mean, you look at back in the day, I want to say it was Michael Jordan had a child, and they didn't send flowers or a gift or anything. That's who Jerry Reinsdorf is as an owner. How do you overlook something like that, right? Like, I have a vivid memory, and I don't know that Stacey King will even remember this. I used to be a cashier at a store called Jewel. In Chicago. It's a grocery store. And they used to practice at this facility right behind the grocery store. So the Bulls would work out, and then a bunch of the players would come through and buy their groceries and then go home and live their lives. Stacey King was in a really terrible mood one day, and this is one of the best teams in the NBA at the time. Stacey King's in a terrible mood. I don't remember what had happened, but I just remember that he comes through and there's like raging controversy on a team that was about to win a championship. And it's like you can't have that. Oh, by the way, it's time to move on from Michael, Scotty, and Phil Jackson. That's when you know you're screwed. When a player says, I'm ready to go, and then the team says you're not playing, you know you're screwed. When this is not a one-off. It should never happen.
It shouldn't happen.
It's not a one-off. Eugene says, good morning. If Donovan comes back, we should win by double digits. No, he's going to play in game 2.
Yeah, he's definitely playing.
Everybody has said he's going to play. Austin Parkins. Oh, wow. Sorry, we just got to dump a comment. So Austin Parkins says, if Donovan was supposed to play, the Jazz had practice beforehand as if he would be. Maybe that partially explains why the Jazz were so uncoordinated in game one, despite playing a month without him. Well, but what it doesn't explain is then the Jazz have like an 18-point lead and then completely melted down. That's not Donovan Mitchell. That's not coming out and not having Donovan. That's coming out and Joe Ingles hits threes and everything's right in the world, and then you just stop playing. And Clarkson started shooting more, and Bogey couldn't get the ball until the fourth quarter. And
stopping power.
Yeah, what you saw is you had nobody who could answer the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah. That's what you miss in Donovan Mitchell.
Totally.
That's what you miss.
Totally.
That's, I think, what you saw there. You guys are unbelievable. James Knight says, who do you think will cop the heat if Donovan breaks down in the first 5 minutes? It won't be Donovan. It might be the medical staff. I mean, I don't know. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, why would James, I respect you, man, and I love the fact that you watch our show and you comment, and I really, truly, genuinely hope that the 4X Gold is nice and cold today. But I'm really curious, Don's not going to break down in the first 5 minutes. You never know when a major injury is going to happen, but I'd be really surprised if the guy just fell over in the first 5 minutes of the game because his ankle was sore. That's not.
It's not Kevin Durant playing in the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
with the Achilles thing.
Yeah, there was some speculation with that situation that in that game we were going to see him tear his Achilles. Yet he still played, and that's why I say that it's not us sensationalizing this situation. This is dog crap out of the Jazz. This can't happen. This, from a team morale perspective, from a game planning perspective, from our relationship with one of the best players in the game perspective, from hey, this guy just signed a 4 or 5 year extension perspective, and that doesn't mean a damn thing in this league because players control where they play. So that's why I'm saying it's not that we're sensationalizing anything. We just told you that this isn't the end of the world, but it is something to pay attention to. So it's the last thing you want right now. This team, we shouldn't be talking about Jimmy the doctor on the medical staff. We should be talking about Donovan Mitchell's dominant return and them going to Memphis up 2-0. That's what we should be talking about.
Well, and you can't have your coach and Quinn Snyder having to explain this in the pregame, having to explain that Donovan wanted to play and the medical staff held him out, and
it's egg on your face, dude. What are we doing?
And now my question is, how do you just leave this in the rear view?
Win.
That's it.
Win.
That's the only thing that matters.
Dominate.
I think if you win 4 straight, and I think they will.
Yeah.
If you win 4 straight, nobody's ever going to remember what happened before game 1.
Yeah.
Because teams lose games in series all the time. And the way you regain home court advantage is you win game 2, and then you go down there and you win game 3 and game 4 and game 5, and then game 1 in the next series, and you just start kicking ass.
Do your thing.
You just start kicking ass. You're not the Clippers. And I think this is a really interesting transition. By the way, if you're watching this video, make sure you hit subscribe, because we are giving away a 50-inch Samsung 4K Ultra HD TV with a year of Disney Plus streaming included. So make sure you are subscribed. If you're a new subscriber, go ahead and right now hit subscribe, take a picture that you're subscribed, tag Jake and I on either Instagram or Twitter, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. And you're entered to win. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, we will give away the TV and the year streaming. By the way, Brent asked me yesterday, why aren't you guys giving away your clothing line yet? Because, I guess we can throw in a sweatshirt if you want. If that'll make a difference for you, if I have to throw in a sweatshirt to get you to subscribe, I'm happy to do it. Because frankly, every subscriber counts in this business.
I think that people want some merch, bro.
Well, and the merch is coming. I promise you, this coming weekend is dedicated to the Monty Show merch line. We have a clothing line that we have not quite fully launched yet. Elevated Clothing. We gave away a sweatshirt to Miss Ocampo in the Philippines,
the architect.
And by the way, I don't know why you need a sweatshirt in the Philippines, but she was excited to get it. So hey, I'm thrilled about that. But yeah, we're working on some big things. We picked up 12 subscribers yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we are at 813 subscribers, and we appreciate every single one of you. By the way, this post-nasal drip is killing me.
Brutal.
Absolutely killing me. By the way, I was also asked why I don't use Instagram more. I use Instagram every day. If you don't follow me, it's The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, with a little underscore underneath it, because some a-hole probably has The Monty Show. I can't
What a
change
douche.
it. But please, it's followers on Instagram, not subscribers. Yeah. Thank you. Follow me on Instagram. Happy to have you there. That's much more of my personal life. That's much more of, empty plastic bottle basketball at the gym, lifting, shoes, eating.
Dogs on desks,
Me cutting my pointer finger down to the bone with a knife the other morning. Just that stuff. Dogs on desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Austin Parkins says he didn't manage his health properly. Where's his other comment? I'm not inclined to disagree with trained medical professionals. Remember what happened to Karl Malone? Oh, yeah, when he went to the Lakers. Yeah, he was not really a member of the Lakers because, he wasn't healthy.
But here's the thing, and this is what you guys got to understand. Donovan Mitchell would not come out and say, yep, ready to go, if he had not been cleared. That's the thing. He as a player would not do that. That's why this never happens, or very rarely happens in the NBA, generally speaking.
Well, because, by the way, the other part of this you got to remember is players are not the ones who generally come out and declare themselves fit. This whole thing is just awkward.
It's weird.
It was just awkward. That's the thing. I just don't know. I don't know where you go with it. By the way, let's talk NBA playoffs tonight. And then we're going to get into what happened last night, because the Dame thing is crazy. But who is in more of a must-win situation, the Lakers or the Clippers? Because I think I could make the argument that, the LA Clippers, they're in a doom and gloom situation. They lose game one after what most people think was a tank to the Rockets in OKC, so that they would get the Dallas Mavericks. And then the Dallas Mavericks went into LA and punched him in the face and took game one convincingly. I would think between the Lakers and the Clippers, I would absolutely think the Clippers are in much more of a must-win in game two here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think for them as a team, certainly they are. But I think from, just watching the NBA and expectation-wise, my opinion is it's the Lakers. I mean, you don't want to go down, 2-0, and go back home down 2-0 to have to win both of those games, to have to come back. Like, I don't think you want to be in that situation. And I think that I know that the expectation for the Lakers is significantly higher than it is for the Clippers. So, is anybody really going to be surprised if the Clippers get bounced in round one to the Mavericks? Like, seriously, that would not be surprising. I mean, that's who this Clippers team has been. Paul George has been a letdown his entire career. Kawhi has never been somebody that you can really resonate with, but he's won championships. So for him, it's really not as big of a deal. But I look at the Lakers and I say, hey, you're playing a team that nationally is very much disrespected and looked down upon. They came out and gave it to you, even though they lost Chris Paul for the most part. He played, but he wasn't really himself. And now you got to come back and you got to figure out what you're going to do. So to me, I think the Lakers have more to play for, and frankly, more to lose in their second game than the Clippers ever could. That's just what it looks like to me.
Yeah. By the way, welcome to the show, Mikey G, who just hit me on Twitter with the tag.
Boom.
Make sure you tag Jake and me.
Do it
on Twitter. The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show for me, and SLC Supercars. For Jake over there. So, Mikey, welcome to the show. Yeah. What is wrong with the Clippers? What is the intangible that's missing?
Whose team is it?
Okay, well, that may have been checkmate because I have no idea.
It's nobody's team.
It should be Redwood Finger, Kawhi Leonard.
I'm sorry. Whoa. Redwood Finger?
Well, I'm trying not to curse more.
What's an erection?
Yeah, look, Dick Fingers Kawhi Leonard is... Yeah, I said that. Look, the claw in Kawhi Leonard, that should be his team. But I think Paul George thinks it's his team. Mm-hmm. I think Ivica Zubac thinks it's his team. I think Nick Batum thinks Well, no, Nick Batum doesn't think it's his team. You know better than that. I think they have a leadership problem, yes, but I also think that they have just an awkward dynamic. And I think you may be very right. That's a really good point. They don't have an alpha personality on that team.
And that's why I'm saying, like, with the Lakers, who do you think, whose team is it, the Lakers? I think as long as LeBron's there, it's his team.
Oh, it's LeBron's team.
But
there's no doubt.
It's going to be Anthony Davis's ship once LeBron is done. And so that's why I say, like, the Lakers have order, right? They have a flow. They have a system. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do.
Roles.
Yes.
Define. Wesley Matthews knows he's not a starter.
Yeah.
Right? Like the best teams in the NBA, look at Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles knows he's not a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Donovan Mitchell got hurt? Okay, I'm ready to step up.
And I'm going to play point jingles.
And I'm going to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
It's not about me, it's about us.
Right.
The Clippers, I think, to your point, I would agree, the Clippers don't have that.
And that's why I'm saying that's why they always let us down. And that's why I think the kind of balls it takes to tank a game to get to a team.
Oh, man.
You're calling them out. And if you think the Mavericks didn't notice that, you're up in the night. The Mavericks definitely noticed that. The Mavericks are going to be looking to take it to the Clippers in this entire series. And don't be surprised if the Mavericks are out for blood, man. I honestly, like,
how could you not be?
Yeah, I think that they're out to almost embarrass the Clippers. And I think if you're the Clippers, you got to be really careful, not to get embarrassed in this series.
Well, I also think that you've had a ton of time off, let's be honest. They haven't played since, Saturday, I think it was. And I never felt like the Clippers were in position to win that game.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't. And looking at the box score, you see, like, the thing that scares you so much if you're a Clipper fan, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they got theirs. 26 for Kawhi, 23 for PG.
The rack attack!
Well, okay, we won the game. If I said to you, hey, you're playing the Mavericks, Kawhi gives you 26, PG gives you 23, we're good to go. Well, only it wasn't good to go because you got nothing out of anybody else. Like, Rondo gave you 11. If I said to you, hey, PG, Kawhi, oh, by the way, Rondo chipped in double digits and he gave you 4 dimes and 4 boards. Great. The problem is you couldn't stop anybody. Now, if you're the Mavericks, can you expect Tim Hardaway Jr. to go 5 of 9 from 3 and give you 21 points tonight?
Not 5 of 9 from 3, but you can expect 20. Yeah.
I think that's going to be really interesting, and I'm curious who's going to score for the Mavericks off the bench.
Yeah,
because that's a huge question mark.
Yeah, it's always somebody. I just think that this series, here's the problem if you're the Mavericks. This series has nothing to do with you. This series is all about whether the Clippers are going to play defense or not. If they play defense, this series is over. But they never play defense.
I would agree.
They never play defense, so the Mavericks get really high percentage looks in the paint. Luka's hitting his little floater. Luka's hitting the elbow jumper.
Yeah.
Luka's hitting the step back. Porzingis is hitting the 15-footer off the elbow. Like, you're not playing defense. So what do you expect to happen?
And that's the hard thing about the Mavericks is if you give in and you try to slack on Kristaps or Luka, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s threes are just daggers.
Yeah, when he's hot, he's really hot.
They're just daggers. And by the way, Boban didn't even play a minute, a critical guy off the bench for the Clippers. But Boban, big fellow. Anyway, point is, he's not a critical. I think it's so funny what a cult hero Boban is.
Mm-hmm.
And he never contributes.
All right, we're going to move on here.
Mitchell Harding says the concerning thing about the Clippers is that no level of coaching can change that situation.
There you go.
I would agree with that. I mean, you've tried to change Doc Rivers, Ty Lue, your mom. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter who the coach of that team is. I think the dynamic's going to be awkward, and you know what the problem in L.A. is? It's not the players. It's not the coach. I'm telling you, it's the owner.
My fucking ass.
Well, no. Sorry, sir. Sorry, you are the problem. Right? I mean, Steve Ballmer sitting courtside, flashing his crotch at everybody and, like, yelling.
I say I'm just fired up to be here today.
Yeah, we get it, bro. You're not a player. You're not Mark Cuban. You're not even a guy like that. Like, who on your team is like, oh, yeah, let's go hang out at Ballmer's place?
No, I guess not.
No, nobody. Right? Like, you're not. He just is such a fanboy, and he was so desperate to own any NBA team. he's dumped a bunch of money into that team, and that never wins you championships.
Yeah.
Right? It again is the best part and the worst part about the Jazz. They let their basketball guys do the basketballing. So it'll be interesting to see how all that turns out. Austin Parkins says the Clippers also need to get out of L.A. One of the long-standing issues is they've always been the other L.A. team attached to Staples Center like a parasite. Well, here's the problem, though.
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer wants in L.A., and he wants his own arena. And so he's trying to build his own arena. And I think he's going to get that done. If the Clippers leave Staples Center, I think it's actually good for everybody.
Yeah,
it's probably not good for the building, but it's good for everybody.
It's been pretty quiet, that topic, but the last report that I heard was that he was trying to do that in Orange County, wasn't he?
He was.
Right?
He's kind of looked everywhere. Let me look at it real quick. He's looked everywhere, and I actually think he was trying to get in on the Inglewood situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see exactly.
Here's the thing. The Clippers are, you can say the Clippers have always been the other LA team or the little brother or whatever. The problem is that the Clippers haven't done anything. They haven't won anything, So meanwhile, the Lakers were busy, going and trading for some guy named Kobe. They were busy trading for some guy named LeBron, And what did the Clippers do? Well, the Clippers went and got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and thought that would be good enough. And that's not good enough, and that's why I just think that, yeah, sure. Do the Clippers need their own arena? Absolutely. They're not a tiny organization. They're a mainstay in the league. They need their own arena. Yes, I do think it'd be good for the league. Orange County definitely could use some flair from a sports arena perspective. So if he got that done, great. But at the end of the day, nobody in their right mind is saying, man, I'm in LA. Let's go to a Clipper game. Like, that's not happening, dude, even if they had their own arena. People want to see the Lakers, dude.
Look, if they get the Inglewood thing done, and I know there's been lawsuits and whatever, if the LA Clippers get that Inglewood thing, if they break ground on that and they build, because they're proposing, and I'm doing a poor job of Google searching for it, but I know they proposed an arena next to SoFi Stadium.
Right.
But there was a lawsuit to save the Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And the owners of the Forum tried to lure the Lakers back to a new Forum once their lease at Staples was up. If the Clippers are able to procure land and build that thing near SoFi, that's a huge solution.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I think it'll just be a matter of time. Steve Ballmer's got the financial resources to make that happen.
Yeah.
They're not leaving LA. There's no chance. Tanner Plummer says the Jazz let the basketball guys do basketballing. I understand that's a good, but how is it bad thing? Well, I mean, sometimes you have to. You have a lot of owners that have their hands in the cookie jar. Mark Cuban is notorious for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best organizations in the NBA hire guys like Bob Myers in Golden State.
Yeah.
Arguably the best GM in the NBA. You hire guys who know how to run NBA teams, and you let them run the teams. You sit as the chairman of the board, essentially. Hey, we want to sign this player. We want to spend this money. Okay, cool. What's been wrong with the Phoenix Suns? Well, you have an owner that is meddlesome. And now you've kind of let James Jones go out and do what he wants to do. Hired a quality coach in Monty Williams, who went out and lured a quality free agent in Chris Paul. Did you trade? I think they traded for him. Whatever it is. You went and got Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
You've built a culture and a team that's about winning.
Yeah.
Because you're letting basketball guys make basketball decisions.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Phoenix, the owner spent a ton of money to do an arena renovation, build a practice facility. The things that most NBA teams have to do to win games. Let the owner do the owner stuff. Let the basketball guys do the basketballing.
Yep.
That's why it's a good thing. Speaking of which, let's talk LA Laker basketball. On the Monty Show, Lakers Suns Game 2 tonight in Phoenix at the brand new Phoenix Suns Arena. You might want to let the sales guys do the selling, sir.
Well said.
You're welcome. Thank you. You may want to watch this game. Now,
What?
I want to say it starts at 2 a.m. our time, Mountain Time.
Yeah.
Because I think it's 8:30 Mountain Time.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, who needs sleep, right? this is a really, really big game. Number one, Chris Paul is going to play, and Monty Williams said yesterday he felt like Chris Paul was improving.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how important it is that Chris Paul be able to dribble a basketball because he couldn't do that after the injury in game one. Now, I'm sure he's rehabbed consistently. My guess is he'll have a handle. I don't care if he makes jump shots. He needs to be able to facilitate and distribute.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing for Chris Paul tonight because I don't think as the Lakers, you're in a must-win. I know it sounds odd. I think the Phoenix Suns are in a must-win. If you really want to send a message this series is over and game one was not a fluke, you're going to win this game tonight. And I think the Suns are going to have a real tough time pulling this game out.
What do you expect from Anthony Davis in this game? What are your thoughts on that?
I would expect 35 points in 10, 12 boards. I would expect him to attack the basket.
Yeah.
Here's what I think is probably going to happen. The Lakers are not going to start Andre Drummond. Now, I know that's not breaking news or whatever, but my guess is Frank Vogel is going to make some adjustments. I think you're going to start Anthony Davis at the 5. I think you are going to try to get into a defensive battle with the Suns, which means you're going to play a slower half-court game.
Yeah.
And I think all that adds up to a Laker win.
Here's the game plan.
If you stop trying to force, a huge lineup on the Suns and just play your game, and I think that's what's happened to the Lakers here.
Yeah.
The Lakers have gotten away from their brand and their style that has gotten them to where they are. And you went out and got Andre Drummond, which was a great pickup. He's your first big off the bench.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing is, I think you still have to find consistent minutes for Montrezl Harrell. He had a big impact on game one. A lot of the effort and momentum they were able to get in that parts of the third quarter was because of Montrezl Harrell. So I think Montrezl Harrell still has to play minutes. But there's no doubt. I expect 35, 38 minutes out of Anthony Davis, and I expect 35 points and 12 boards.
Yeah, I think your point about Andre Drummond is well taken. I think that was a big struggle in game one for the Lakers, and I think that the Lakers, because of how deep they are, they have an opportunity to really take it to the Suns when the second units are on the floor and the starters are resting. And I think that's where Andre Drummond in this series can shine. I don't even think taking him out of the starting lineup is a knock on Drummond. I think it's what's best for the team, and I think that if you play AD at the 5, as much as he hates that, he needs to do it because he needs to play DeAndre Ayton, and he needs to make a difference for this team. And this soft style play where Anthony Davis isn't getting to the basket needs to end. I don't know if he doesn't make that adjustment tonight. I don't know when he's going to make it because it was plain as day that all he was doing was settling for jumpers and they weren't going in. And by the way, when you miss a jumper from the elbow, yeah, that's going to lead to a real nice outlet pass. And in the NBA, those guys are well past half court. When you're outletting to them.
Well,
so.
and again, I'm telling you, this is a must-win for the Suns. Because if this Laker team is going back to LA feeling good about itself, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. There is no circumstance where you want this LA Laker team confident, feeling good, getting their groove back. None of that. Mm-hmm. When this Laker team is right, they're the best team in the NBA, bar none, including the Brooklyn Nets. When this Laker team is confident, they're the best. When they feel good, they're the best. When the ball's going in the hole and they're getting turnovers and LeBron's dunking off the break, the Lakers are almost unbeatable. You have to win this game if you're the Suns. And my guess is Devin Booker and Chris Paul know that. Mm-hmm. My guess is Monty Williams knows that. My question is, does a guy like DeAndre Ayton understand the level of intensity that it takes? I thought it was really interesting yesterday that he talked about, DeAndre Ayton talked about wanting to be the best all-around center in the NBA. And every night, he works on something trying to get better. It's the first sign of maturity that we've seen from DeAndre Ayton, where he's openly talking about the fact he knows he's not good enough, he has to improve, and he wants to be the best player in the NBA. To me, that tells you DeAndre Ayton's coming to life. And again, I know that you're a virgin and you're never going to have kids, but DeAndre Ayton just had a child.
Do you know what that's like these days?
You don't know what that's like. Because it would require, procreation. Anyway, the point is, DeAndre Ayton had a child. He's clearly maturing. Sweaty Sean got fired at Arizona. Everything's right in DeAndre's world, except he signed with Puma. But anyway, the point is, the Suns got to win this game. I absolutely, positively think this is a must-win for Phoenix.
Yeah, I think that, I agree with you. You don't want the Lakers to get their confidence back, but here's the deal. I don't think they've lost a bit of confidence. I don't think that they're shaken. I don't think that they're doubting themselves. I think that what they're saying is hey, we didn't execute in game one. And I think, and this is, if you haven't noticed this based on our conversations, this is a trend in the NBA, and specifically in the postseason. Game one is just the starting point.
Yes.
The series doesn't really get going until game two, because at that point, then you've started making adjustments, and then things are really, truly happening. And so for the Lakers, I don't think that they're concerned at all. But yeah, you're totally right. If you're the Suns, yeah, you need to send a message that game one wasn't a fluke and that they're for real. And I don't think that has anything to do with what Devin Booker did or anything. I think it's just team versus team. You got to make the Lakers believe, hey, we're here, we're a legitimate threat to you, and if you don't start picking it up, you're going home. And that,
what was real in game one? I know that's a crazy
series
question.
Or like in the league?
Just in game one, in the Lakers-Suns series, what was real in game one?
Well, I thought what was real in game one was certainly was what Devin Booker did. I love that Monty Williams he basically found a set where they were running double screen for Devin coming off of the weak side block.
Yeah,
and it was getting him mid-range looks, and he was knocking them down.
He ran a hook route.
Yeah.
Essentially from the opposite block up around the top of the key, hand off, shoot a jumper, or get to the basket.
Or run the pick and roll, which he did a couple of times out of it as well. So it was. I thought that was brilliant. So yeah, I think that was real. I think DeAndre Ayton's performance was real. I think you can't anything. Anthony Davis can't change anything to affect DeAndre Ayton's ability to rebound the basketball. He was battling.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
He was battling.
Totally agree with that.
He was outworking Davis and doing everything he needed to do to get the board. So I think that was real. And yeah, I think for the Lakers, the lack of execution, I just didn't feel like they were mentally prepared to win that basketball game. I felt like the lineups were jacked. I felt like the rotations were not good. And I think more than anything, Frank Vogel's got to get his act together and get this team in a position to be as successful as possible. And that's why I say you can think that it's a must-win for the Suns or the Lakers. The fact is I think Game 2 ends up deciding the series down the road. If the Suns win this game, obviously their chances go up. If they lose this game, now it swings to the Lakers.
I think what I feel like was real in Game 1 was Devin Booker, and that jumper looked way better.
Yeah.
You can tell he had a bunch of time off. I felt like Devin Booker's hand mechanics were better, and I felt like he was a lot more, how do I say it? Like he embraced the situations.
He dictated to the Lakers. He told them, hey, these are the shots that I'm going to take.
Well, and in the playoffs, games become minute to minute. They're not, okay, well, we didn't play well in the first half. We'll come out here in the third. They're minute to minute because you have to control runs. And, look at the Jazz-Memphis series. Game 1, Memphis was able to go on that long run, and the Jazz never really answered that. They never really answered Dillon Brooks being physical on both offense and defense. In the Lakers-Suns game, the Suns lose Chris Paul, and Devin Booker turns it up a notch. Mm-hmm. Devin realizes, hey, here's a moment in time. Now it's time for me to go. Gets back on the point book, gives the ball up, full well knowing that his teammates believe in him, understand the system and the situation because they're well coached. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give the ball up and I'm going to get it back. The offense never changed when Chris Paul went out, right? He comes back in, forces up some jumpers, turns the ball over a bit. Things changed a little bit. Then they adjusted. Chris Paul started going left instead of right because he couldn't control the ball with his right hand.
I legit think he couldn't feel his right hand.
He talked about it. He talked about the fact that his bicep hurt. He talked about the fact, like, you could see he was struggling.
Yeah.
Right? He was using the Theragun on the bench. Like, you could see him trying to do all of this stuff to get himself back into it. I don't know. I think tonight's a must-win for the Suns. I know it's crazy. I know that it is. It seems over the top. Tonight's a must-win for the Suns because truly, a series doesn't begin until the home team loses a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why tomorrow night's a huge must-win for the Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, I'm telling you, it's a must-win for the Suns.
Game 2 for the Knicks.
Game 2 for the Knicks, massive. Massive. I mean, these games, you have to win, and you have to control momentum. Minute to minute, quarter to quarter, half to half, but certainly game to game.
Mm-hmm.
The momentum inside of a series, that's what the best teams are able to control.
We saw last night in the Denver-Portland game. Putting Aaron Gordon on Dame totally changed that game.
What the heck? What happened to Damian Lillard in the third and fourth quarter?
Aaron Gordon's what happened.
Yeah, and by the way, By the way, Aaron Gordon was a huge pickup. Like that move right there.
Wait, who's Aaron Gordon? They didn't need Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon, what? That move right there was spectacular. Like that, to get him and then to see him play that level of defense, to see him hit that big corner three, to see Jokic and Dame Time going at it back and forth.
Yep.
That's why Nikola Jokic is the MVP, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
By the way, we shouldn't go too far without talking about Jordan Clarkson winning the sixth man.
Mm-hmm.
No-brainer. Absolutely earned it. Walked away. The ballot wasn't even close.
Yeah.
I say kudos to you. And the way that Joe Ingles handed him that award, I thought was really cool on TNT. So good for them. Let me get some of your comments because I see a lot of them coming in. Mitchell Harding says it gets to a point where you think, will LeBron actually lose this series when it comes down to it? It's hard to fathom LeBron and the Lakers going out in round one.
But it feels like that's a possibility after what happened in game one.
Yeah.
Right? Like it doesn't. You know how the classic Warriors Cavs series where LeBron comes back, wins the title.
Right.
Nobody was really surprised when LeBron did that. It was an amazing feat, one of the best moments in NBA history.
Yeah.
But nobody can honestly say, man, I'm really surprised he was able to do that. At that time, it was like, no, dude, this is LeBron. Like, this is
best
who he
player
is.
in the world.
Like we're not surprised, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is what this guy does. You know.
Yep.
Now it's like, okay, this guy's playing at 80%. Father Time's coming into the picture. Anthony Davis isn't pulling his weight. Like, where's this team gonna go? So yeah, I do agree that now more than it's ever been, it is a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. It's a conversation now. Whereas before it was like, it's game one. They'll go ahead and win the next 3 or 5, and it'll be fine.
Austin Parkins says, slurp alert, major slurp alert.
Hey.
Mike Phillips says, no one loves Booker's hand mechanics like Monty. Oh, Mike, that's amazing. Night Guy says, if we talk about the shitty coaching with the Lakers, then we must talk about the even shittier coaching by Quinn.
Are we clear on that?
Why are the Jazz so bad out of timeouts?
I don't know.
I watch that in the game tomorrow.
Bogdanovich play is embarrassing.
Yeah, watch that in the game tomorrow. You're going to see the Jazz. They don't tend to execute so well out of timeouts.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, which is why, by the way, I'm the guy who also says don't call so many timeouts.
Yeah.
Let guys play through things. Let your stars be stars, right? Jeremy Bolton says Monty loves book stroke. Damn right I do. Jordan Crabtree says, love the show. Jake, do you have to crawl under the desk to get in that corner? Wow.
No, I don't. Off camera.
Did he just call me fat?
Did you call him fat?
I think Jordan Crabtree. Where do I block Jordan Crabtree at? Jordan Crabtree just called me fat. James Knight says, yeah, thank you. James Knight says, Chris Paul's drama queen. Oh, by the way, did anybody catch the sniper? Yeah, exactly right. Well, but to be fair, I mean, when you hit your head like that, we see that in football a lot. It's called a stinger. When you just quickly tweak your head like that's the worst. Mm-hmm. I've actually done that before where you you just turn your head the wrong way and all of a sudden you get that shoulder trap cramp and it's like, oh,
you're done.
It's awful. The Nye guy says Denver picks up Gordon. The Jazz do one better by getting Thomas. Well, listen.
Jazz fans know, man.
There's going to come a point where Oni's just not good enough.
There will be a reckoning with this roster.
Right? I mean, it is. We're going to have this conversation. It's not going to be probably in the first 2 rounds.
No.
Although, we'll see. I mean, obviously.
They're going to come out in this next game and dominate the Grizzlies. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, no, I'm not worried about the first round at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see where their second round matchup ends up.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of question about that as well. there's going to come a point where the depth that is lacking on this roster, this is why Don's got to get back. Joe Ingles is such a good sixth man. And yes, Jordan Clarkson's sixth man of the year, but I think we all know that Jordan's kind of a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Ingles just brings a certain level of what's the word? Like he's your Utah Jazz Viagra pill, right? Like he brings you vitality,
dude.
What's
an erection?
See, what I meant to say was,
Hey, look here, man.
he brings you a certain level of professionalism. He moves the ball. He doesn't take wild, double team threes. He doesn't dribble into double team. Well, mainly because he can't dribble by anybody. But that's not really. Yeah, that's not the point. The point is Joe Ingles is a really important role player off the bench because he accepts that. He knocks down the three at an exceptionally high level.
Yeah.
And so the things you're missing are Don penetrating, driving, and kicking, right?
Yeah.
Penetrating is probably the wrong word right now. The point is, you miss Don getting into the paint and passing the ball out to the 3-point line.
Penetrating's a better,
Yeah, this is
That's quite enough. We get it.
A family show and stuff. I think that there will come a conversation about roster limitations.
Yeah.
For this Utah Jazz team.